Adventures in Collecting is about toys, but it might not be for your children, especially if you don't like words like f*** or sh** or a**hole.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Erik.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. All right. Welcome back. We're back. We're Adventures in Collecting. Dave, we're here again.
I feel like that's the way we open every show. We're back. Hi.
Yeah, we're back. Hi. Yeah. You're like the straight man. We're the toy version of Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, hi and yeah are my catchphrases.
Well, like usual, when we have something special here, we're not going to bury the lead. We have a guest with us today, Dave.
Yep, we do.
And our guest is extra special because this is his second time on the show. So joining us once again on the pod is the Rekt agent himself, Dave. Senior Business Development Manager at Jazwares and the man who oversees all of the Fortnite stuff that Jazwares puts out. I, of course, am talking about Mike DeCamp.
Awesome. Welcome back, Mike.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be the alumnus of some sort. This is killer.
Yeah, it's eventually going to be hopefully like that Saturday Night Live bit when all of the past hosts who have hosted multiple times like don their smoking jackets and meet in like the private parlor pre-show.
I'm so down for that.
We need a jacket.
Add it to the list. So, Mike, the last time we had you on, we were talking about this a little bit before we started rolling. It was February, and we were in the midst of Toy Fair Mania, standing in the incredibly awesome Jazwares booth talking about Fortnite toys. But now that we have you here and we have you on the show proper, the first thing we always like to ask our guests is what they're collecting right now. So Mike, what are you collecting?
Dust during the pandemic. The Amazon boxes have been flowing like water. It's pretty much all over the place. I fell into the slippery slope of Mega Constructs micro figures.
All right. Interesting.
So the Halo stuff I think is brilliant. They did all this great Star Trek and Ninja Turtles. They created a unique platform that gave them access to pretty much carte blanche with licenses. So hats off to them.
Yeah, they're a bit into that like blind bag aspect too, right? Don't they have some stuff where you have like the blind packaging and you don't know who you're going to get?
Yeah, and they have a great distribution. Like I'm finding these things at even dollar stores, so they're all over the place, but for the chases, I'm on eBay too.
And what's your favorite IP so far that they're? I know you mentioned Halo, but what's your favorite IP that they're working with at the moment?
I really like the Halo stuff, and they do Call of Duty as well. That look just tremendously detailed. They have these like shipping containers that are blind boxes. They come with like assorted accessories and figures that you have to assemble. It's more or less like an activity and a toy. So I really like that during these times.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody refer to them because I've definitely seen them before in the toy aisle, but I think I heard somebody refer to them as like articulated Legos.
It's tremendous the amount of engineering they've put into that stuff. It's incredible. I'm just blown away.
So, Mike, before we get into all things Fortnite, tell us how you got into the world of toys.
It was a gentleman that you may have had on the show, or you should probably have on the show. His name's Jesse DeStasio. And he has his own YouTube show called Toy Pizza, and they do a action figure of the month, the kind of collectors club, and his IP that he has originated with another gentleman, Nicholas Fung, is called Knights of the Slice. So Jesse was somebody that I went to art school with way back in 1999 or 2000, and we started collaborating. I was a aspiring comic book illustrator, and Jesse was like this insane idea guy, like a toy collector. So he got hired at Jazwares when Jazwares was still extremely small, and I was his intern. So Jazwares, shortly after they picked up the Pokemon license and rolled over from being a housewares company, which is where the name of the company actually comes from. My boss's initials, JAZ, and wares was for housewares. So he brought me on as basically the technical artist before the whole universe of CAD and 3D programs. I was the guy. I would sit there and do front, side, top, bottom, and exploded views of characters by hand that we would pass over to our Hong Kong associates for, sculpting and tooling and that type of stuff.
So in those early days when you were doing some of that stuff by hand, like, do you have any of those toys that you originally worked on?
I do. I have a lot of them. I'm one of those crazy hoarder slash archivists, and fortunately enough, my boss is too. So we have a vault in the central area in Jazwares that houses two of everything we've ever made, and I have my own personal collection of some of the highlights, but I can always rest assured that I can at least go to work and kind of pick up and smell some of those really, really early toys.
Yeah, that's huge. And I mean, you don't have to apologize here for being a toy hoarder. Remember, you're on a show about collecting toys, so
Yeah, and
we
it's always cool to see too, like that, the people that make the things that we collect love them just as much as we do, just to kind of almost like keep that historical collection of stuff.
It's tremendous. The toy community is so giving and a sharing bunch where, like, now that Jazzwares has kind of matured and transformed into this global company, like on places like Instagram and Twitter, through our hashtags, I'll see, very young kids collecting the really early stuff like Street Fighters. Somebody just DM'd me on Instagram with a picture of like a Ryu Street Fighter action figure. He's like, I just noticed this has Jazzwares in the legal line on this thing. Holy crap! I never knew.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys, it's an understatement to say that you guys are everywhere now. I mean, you really are everywhere. We were fortunate enough to have Jeremy Padower on a few episodes ago, and we were talking mostly about the AEW line and a lot of the Pokemon stuff. But it's one of those things where when we visited you guys at Toy Fair, like, we left the booth like scratching our heads. We're like, Micro Machines and Pokemon and Nerf, and like, how did we not know all of these brands were Jazzwares brands? And then of course with the AEW line and the UFC stuff coming out, it's like you guys are literally everywhere. Like, you are covering so much ground. It's incredible.
We're led by some visionaries, gentlemen like Jeremy and Judd, where they just have a sixth sense for what, like Jeremy and his investment grade collecting, and Judd, who's very much a lifelong kind of geek with a vision for bringing unique things to the marketplace. I just have the fortune of kind of learning from those guys and gaining experience through them via our relationships. But Jazzwares has been a company that looks at long-term prospects and tries to forge very meaningful long-term relationships. Like, we still work with some of our very first factories, and as we've grown, they've grown. So I feel there's a little bit of karma involved with our success as well.
So going back to your relationship with toys, um, in all of the toys that you've produced over the years and continue to, Do you ever go back to some of the toys that you had as a kid for inspiration?
Constantly, absolutely. My parents divorced when I was very very young. I think I was only 2 or something like that. So my grandfather, we lived in New Jersey. My grandfather moved in with us. He was very upwards in age. I'm the youngest of everybody. So, people always thought my mom was my grandma and stuff like that. But toys were very much my surrogate father to a certain degree. Once he split, my mom was working basically around the clock, like 2 jobs. So I got introduced to toys very early in my youth. My earliest memory is I found a Lone Ranger and Tonto doll under my grandfather's bed, and they were in the package, and they were beautiful. And he just let me have them and let me play with them when I showed interest in it. And I couldn't believe that Tonto's knife came out of the sheath, and that the Lone Ranger's hat and mask came off, and they had like real clothes and that type of stuff. So, like, very, very early on, I had a unique appreciation for that. The Mego stuff, the world's greatest heroes, Battlestar Galactica, and all of those things are things that I look back to. I mean, I feel like Star Wars and G.I. Joe will perpetually be the yardstick that all toy lines are measured against. And with Fortnite, I think especially you could probably see a lot of those influence come through my.
So now, with that influence, you see kind of, the range of almost like scale in the Fortnite line. 3 3/4, 6 inch, 12 inch. All of those figures come into play. What goes into planning the figures and to determine how and what form factors to produce?
So that was it. That was it. That's basically, the Kenner stuff created those benchmarks. GI Joe, starting off in a 12-inch, definitely created those benchmarks. I knew that 12-inch had to be a part of this line from very, very early on, and I was fortunate to have the support and vision of Judd to make that kind of decision. And then also, the lead guy, his name's Donald Mustard. He's a really tremendous thinker, and if you follow him on Twitter, the amount of story that he injects into the game mirrors my appreciation for story injected into play. So it was in that very first meeting, like when we decided that we were going to pitch for the brand, and we actually had to get invited to pitch for the brand. They were only allowing a few companies access to Epic to actually pitch. I felt like that was the ace up my sleeve, was that and I didn't know it until the meeting, but we just kind of fell in love through those early influences. Donald and his brother grew up playing with GI Joe and Star Wars and immersing themselves into that. And when they saw the plan that we had in store, it was basically like the greatest first date ever. There was like butterflies and music, and I think we all knew right away that this was the partnership.
Yeah, and I mean it was evident to me. So I'm admittedly like I'm late into the world of Fortnite. But I remember when it first came out, thinking and like seeing some of the imagery of it. It's like, man, these would make amazing toys. Like the toyetic value of like the different weapons, the different costumes, the skins, excuse me, just the way that the game functioned, like at its actual level, like just watching videos of people playing it on YouTube, thinking, wow, like these this this is a toy, like this should be a toy, this character should be a toy, and then I remember starting to see the 3 3/4 ones show up, and I was like, oh, they're the size of like the real American hero GI Joe figures. That's perfect. And I that can't be a coincidence, or I knew that couldn't be a coincidence.
It is a toy guy's kind of dream come true when it comes to an IP. Like very very early, and I usually hashtag my stuff the luckiest kid. because I very much am. My influences just dovetailed with my opportunities on the level where like I grew up and Street Fighter was my ultimate fanboy thing. Like I had my own like destination at the arcade and people would have to like, court me to like actually get me to 1v1 them. And that was very early on, like the first license that I worked on like predominantly. And then from there, Mortal Kombat, and then from Mortal Kombat, Mega Man, and then from Mega Man, Sonic the Hedgehog. And it was like almost my life story in toys. And Fortnite just happened to be the perfect storm of all of those different influences. And it continues to be because it's this 10-week, ever evolving cliffhanger ending that just like there's new stuff injected to the game all the time. And I feel like they have all the right notes for longevity. There's a few things that have this evergreen staying power, and I don't see the shine wearing off this anytime soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it, right? It's free to play, and the plus ups. So even if you never purchase a skin, if you are Jonesy forever in that game, it puts you at no disadvantage. You can be just as good as anybody else, and it's available on so many different platforms. It has, to your point, serial based cliffhanger storytelling, incredible visuals. And then on the Epic Games and Fortnite side of things, they're, bringing in all these super interesting IPs and like bashing them together. Like right now, you could be wearing a Deadpool skin and bump into Aquaman, or as of today, right, Black Manta. They just introduced a
Yeah,
skin for
yeah.
for him. You could bump into one of them as Deadpool or Cable or Psylocke or Batman or John Wick, and have a shootout. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible.
You're giving me goosebumps by just it, and that's what I really appreciate about what they've done is they're rewriting the book. I mean, when you look at these things, and they came to us with the opportunity to make the action figure for the Travis Scott thing, and that's he's one of my favorite artists, and I was like, oh my effing god, like I can't believe this is happening, and then it just happens again, and they introduce something, and they have this really kind of telltale stylization that they apply, and they clearly have some of the best visual and character-based thinkers in the industry, like deploying that Black Manta, for instance. Like I was never, I mean, from the League of from the Justice League and the old cartoon, Black Manta was a real fast favorite of mine. And they've evolved that character and they've made it appropriate for 2020. They added details to his armor that we've never seen before. He's just tough as nails. I was like, oh my god, it keeps getting better.
Yeah, like even and like what they did on Independence Day when they had Captain America, where if you bought the skin, they actually changed programmatically how the character uses the pickaxe, right? Because he will
Yeah,
take the shield off of his back and
yeah,
use the shield as the pickaxe, and then actually like reconnect it to his back, and that's like a new thing. So like somebody had the forethought of like, hey, if you're Captain America, you can't be holding a shield and have a shield on your back at the same time. So we have to figure out how that works, and
yeah. They
they
they they
fucking did it. Like,
they flex their platform because Captain America is an opportunity for them, and like I don't know if you know, but Donald Mustard was actually in Endgame. Like he was not only collaborating with them through his opportunities with Fortnite, but him and Kevin Feige, like they hit it off, and then the next thing you know, he's one of the doctor's magicians in the scene, and he's doing fighting on the set. Like
oh no
it's
shit, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Donald Mustard is actually the only person in history to be in both a Star Wars movie and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he had a speaking stormtrooper role in The Last Jedi, and he was also featured in Endgame on screen.
Man,
Very cool.
Goals, right?
Yes.
Hashtag
Yeah.
goals. So Fortnite is like this quickening of it all. I mean, I remember between gentlemen, right? When we got the opportunity and I was building my pitch, it was during season 4 of Fortnite. And the most successful thing from season 3 was the Reaper character. That was this really clever pop culture kind of tip of the hat that they did to John Wick.
Yes.
And that was the informal name for that character. Everybody called him John Wick. Nobody ever called him the Reaper. So one of the first things that I did was I actually kit bashed and hand painted this John Wick action figure in 6-inch. And it was in our pitch. It was one of these things where they're like, oh, you know the game and this and that, but this figure is never going to happen. And I was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, it's an IP thing and 20th Century Fox and Legendary and this and that, and we got a cease and desist and blah, blah, blah. But almost a year later, they're sitting across the table from Keanu Reeves, and then next thing you know, we have the Reaper versus John Wick, and John Wick is in the game. So it's again, they're just kind of always rewriting the rule book, and there's no denying that it's just a quickening of sorts,
And I mean, one of our favorite things about being, I guess we can call ourselves like a toy blog now, because I guess we kind of are. But one of our
Yeah.
favorite things that we like watching is now toy photographers tag us in the work that they're doing, and like the mashups that people come up with, where they're, people love buying the Fortnite Legendary series figures. The guys, I always forget their names, I'm sorry, the ones that have like the cards,
wild cards.
wild
Wild
cards,
cards.
because their bodies are they're so well built, they're nicely articulated, and they work so well with other lines. Everything scales really nicely. You can pop heads on, you can kit bash. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen like a Deadpool body with like a Jonesy head on it, just because it's a fun mashup, and it makes for these great photos where people are recreating their like dream battles from either the game or like, what they wish could happen in the game. And I remember doing that stuff. Like, we did that stuff as kids with our wrestlers. Like, I remember like our Spawn figure held like the Intercontinental title for a little bit in,
Or
in
even
like
like
our toy wrestling league.
when there were those GI Joes, and then they made the Street Fighter and the Mortal Kombat figures too. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God, Dave, you're so on the money with that one, dude.
it's amazing. I love how, and regardless of what scale you collect, like, the moment I got my Jonesy figure, and I actually think I DM'd you the picture like right away. The
Yeah,
first thing
yeah.
I did was pose him with all the Marvel guys and just have him, pointing the shotgun and the plunger at people, and
It's so inspirational to me. That's the stuff that, I'm just completely glued to Instagram and to social media. And it's really just starting to get crazy. People are just really, that the head swaps are happening all the time now, like you so pointed out. And the high stakes characters, the wild cards that are basically the Royal Flush Gang, and they're surrounding everybody's Joker. I just can't get enough of that stuff. And the fact, there's no coincidence in that the line sits head and shoulders next to the Marvel Legends stuff. The Toy Biz Marvel Legends is the line that I collected the most of. I think I have series 1 through 8 in package and out of package. I have all the build figures in package and out of package. And the hand on the line, his name is Dave Cortez. He sculpts, and his team actually engineers and paints everything from the 4-inch to the 6-inch. The 12-inch we do separately, but he is the hand that has sculpted my favorite action figures from that line. The Bullseye, the Spider-Man, the Spider-Man 2 18-inch super articulated thing. So again, I'm just the luckiest kid to have fallen into a place where I'm working with the team that did my original favorites, and now he's given the notes to our line to make it look and be an evolution of this, Getting
So what
teared
are
up.
Me too.
some of the challenges you face bringing the game that's just so successful and so very popular into the real world, kind of off the screen and into you know into 3D basically.
You know what? It's a blessing and a curse, right? Fortnite is a game that evolves every 10 weeks, give or take. They have some seasons that they've extended. But as a rule, it's basically a 10-week season. They did 10 seasons, and now we're in chapter 2, we're in season 3 of chapter 2. Within each of those seasons, they introduce 33 characters, at least. I think right now we're hovering around 40. So the thing that keeps me up late at night is like which ones to execute on. I have to constantly be immersed in the culture and in the trends to see, not just not just what is making sense from the data, like the choices that Epic provides, but like what am I observing as a fan, right? So here's an interesting story. Um, when we were granted the license and we sat down with Epic and like here's the time when we have to make it real. They lean into their data. They have some of the best data nerds on the planet, and they said like, okay, these are the 12 characters, and these are the ones that through our metrics are going to be the most successful, and they're instantly recognizable X, Y, and Z. And I looked at that and I put my hand on my chin. And I was like, God, where's the Rust Lord? He's my favorite character. Where's the Rust Lord? And Donald looks me in the eye and he starts to blush and he goes, Rust Lord's my favorite character too. And I was like, well, so they were like, well, he was one of the very early battle pass skins or outfits, so he didn't measure up because you got him very easily. But I mean, he's the Star Lord with a motorcycle helmet with spikes on it. He's just so cool. So Donald was like immediately like, you know what, Rust Lord's got to be in the line. So he was our 13th edition, and 13 is my lucky number, and blah blah blah, like kismet. And so I do my best not only to take what I'm seeing in the data, but also rely on some instinct to say, like, this is what's ahead of us, but I'd also like to propose this because of my observations. And so the challenge is, I basically play the game all day, every day, or I'm watching the streamers play the game all day, every day. And in some way, I'm connected to this community, whether I'm asleep or awake.
Yeah, and it's evident that from the characters that you selected. So like the summer wave of the Legendary series came out, you just announced, and the characters are perfect. Like it's the the exact ones from previous seasons, because like I know obviously I've been very vocal about the one that I want, and I'm sure there are other people in the world that want a Meowscles figure as much as I do, but but like the ones that are part of this most recent wave are perfect. Like they have that great toyetic value. They have the colors that pop, the interchangeable heads, the everything that you need to be there for that like toyetic look. But I it amazes me how you make those correct selections each time when you do have that many to choose from.
And I was going to say too, for me, like the colors are the thing that stick out because it kind of makes it where you see that and you go, okay, this is, I know what this is, even if you aren't quite sure, that just from that color palette, this is Fortnite.
It's a like that's probably one of the other challenges, right? Is and I would venture to say that you won't be disappointed in the future. without confirming or denying anything. Another challenge that mirrors this conversation is the level of secrecy, right? Because Epic is one of these games that we observed very early on does very little marketing, and Minecraft is another one where we had experience to say like this is bucking the trend and this is against kind of the traditional culture of marketing, but it's very clear that it works. So Fortnite keeps a high level of secrecy. They're litigious in their adherence to that secrecy, but there's also a whole community of people that are driving that interest organically. So with me, that's a little bit of the curse is that we have the keys to the kingdom, but more often than not, our bandwidth is beholden to our product development and our aggressive speed in product development. So like we don't do a whole lot of marketing or pre-marketing to the drops. But just today, for instance, the new 4-inch figures showed up at a place in Texas, just outside of Dallas, and immediately there's interest and people are talking about it, and I can finally chime in and take a big exhale and say like, okay, I vouch for this. You know what? Like you guys are on it. Um, so it's interesting because like Dave pointed out, that you can tell immediately that it's a Fortnite character from like the end of the aisle, and the newness stands out in an environment that's basically run by like black or white. Fortnite comes in and it's pink and green and yellow, So we're fortunate to have their excellence to lead that charge, and then we are tasked with doing it justice in a physical light.
Now, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, we talked pretty much at length at Toy Fair about the accessories and how you do the loot boxes and things like that. What we really didn't get a chance to get into was the vehicles and the set pieces. So that like another huge part of the game and experiencing the game is the gliders, the battle bus, which was just finally we've been talking about it since February and like sorry, we have no pictures, we can't show you, and then finally the battle bus pictures come out. But like is that also challenging to find a way to work in the vehicles and like the environment, the building aspect of the game? Is that how challenging is that to produce with the figures in a way that's playable?
We're fortunate to have some really good engineers behind all of that stuff. The addition of vehicles to the line, I mean, that completely validates the 4-inch scale, the 3 3/4 inch scale. Like, I look constantly at my old collection, and GI Joe was a character-based line, but it was given life through the vehicles, the whale, the water moccasin, the hiss tank. I mean, the flag. When you think about GI Joe, it's synonymous, and even with Star Wars, the iconic X-wing, the snow speeder, the AT-AT Walker. Um, so it has to be incorporated in what we're doing, and the game has given us all of these great moments to try and bring to life, like the ATK and the battle bus. Finally, I mean, the battle bus is something that is going to be, I feel like, the whale of this line. So we had to invest. We had to make sure that everything was perfect, and of course, the fans are going to hold us to a very high standard. So it was no lack of effort. We knew that the balloon had to be inflatable. It had to have party music. There were all these key things that had to be incorporated. But with Fortnite, I don't know if you guys pay attention to the things that are happening now, but it's just getting started. We're going to be seeing drivable vehicles in the seasons to come. So cars and semis and vans and the reboot van and like the ballers. So this is just getting started. Up until now, we've introduced kind of wave after wave of action figures, and in the 4-inch, I think we're around like 150 or 200 action figures deep. It's insane. So adding vehicles to the mix will allow us to create special relationships now with the vehicles and the characters. And we've already the Stinger ATK, which is a wrap applied to the previous ATK, just hit the airwaves yesterday. So it gives us another opportunity to introduce even newer characters like the Copper Wasp, who's kind of a tip of the hat to the old Street Fighter mythos. You know, he's got the gi, he's got his black belt, but he's kind of like a Gundam. Like it's so much fun, you know.
I think that sums up Fortnite characters pretty well. He's got a gi and a black belt, but he's also a Gundam.
100%, you know. And thank you so much. Like I saw your post about that, and it let me feel even some relief to know what I saw your post and you're like, yeah, we can finally talk about this. We got to see it in February, and I was like, yes, thank you so much. You know, and congratulations on 500 on Instagram, dude. That's not an easy thing to do. And now I feel like the snowball's going to begin rolling downhill for the show. Like it's a great show. I love what you guys do and your voice in the community. Like, thank you so much for the support.
Man,
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you. We try. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and especially the even in a very very positive toy community, there can be some toxicity now and then. So we try to keep it as positive as we can. We want people to come on and talk about how much they love toys, not necessarily the things that they hate. Like we understand their pain points, and that people who create toys want to hear feedback, and there's definitely a place for that here. We had we've had people on before where we've said like, hey, you're doing a really great thing, but and we still keep it positive. So thank you. We really do appreciate those kind words.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're toys. They're supposed to be fun. So,
Yeah.
why not keep it fun?
We can smell our own, definitely. And like when I listened to your show with Jeremy, it was just you guys had a great chemistry. You guys asked the great questions, and it's always from a place of love. So definitely shines through in your show. Thank you.
Well, the one thing I wanted to follow up with you on from Toy Fair, speaking of Toy Fair, I'm still waiting to see those pictures of the zip line that you had set up in the hotel, because you said you took photos of it, and I want to see that 3 3/4 zip line. I don't know if you still have the photos, but
I'll dig them up for sure. It's one of those things where I get so nervous. Like with what I'm doing now. I just started a live stream, and before, especially with like building the Fortnite line and the plan before the launch, not only am I under NDA with Jazwares, but I'm also under NDA with Epic Games. And I get so nervous to talk about things, and when things kind of, when I get asked the tough questions, or, somebody in the chat says something like, oh, I remember you said this. And I'm like, ooh, did I say that? So like the stuff that when you guys came into Toy Fair, like I've had my own little locked room with security guards and no photography all over the place and stuff. So sometimes when I meet guys like you, I tend to let the beans spill a little bit. So I might have forgot that I promised you those photos, but I'll dig them up for sure, dude. It's so much fun.
you showed us the little zip line and like the from point A to point B on the shelf, and then you were like, but.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can break that story here. I don't think anybody's really caught on to that. That if you get the expedition outpost that comes with the mission specialist, it includes like a dinky little 6-inch plastic zip line that by itself is like, man, what the hell? Like, this is nothing. And the behind the scenes, the insider info on that is like, we can't sell string over like 7.5 inches, or it becomes a choking hazard. It's a strangulation hazard. We have to age our testing up. We have to spend more money on product testing and this and that. So if you get that set and it's out there, it's available, you remove that piece, and there's a hole in the attachment point that you can tie any string you want to. So the key is to get that thing and set it up, and then tie a string. And the thing that plugs into the back of the characters has ball bearings in it. It goes right on the line itself, and those things spin, and the character goes like the Dickens down those. So I had like a pocket full of 4 or 5 of those things and a couple action figures. And the hotel had this amazing open aviary in the middle with trees and stuff. And I'm out there with a couple White Claws and like action figures, like sliding things. I think I was on the 10th floor. It was so much fun. I'll definitely dig them up now that you're reminding me. They got to be on my cloud somewhere.
And then we could start a hashtag challenge. We could start like a zipline challenge.
Dude, seriously, like even if I can't find them, I'm gonna one up myself. Like I'm going down to Fort Lauderdale Beach and sending them over the Breakers Resort or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's cool too is just like, you have that ability to, with the squad packs, just to kind of like almost like, instead of trying to find like different bits and pieces of characters in the collection, you have that ability to kind of start with something already built, which I think is really cool.
Oh man, the fact that like the squad is the ultimate social experience with Fortnite. It's my favorite way to play the game. Even if I'm just jumping in by myself, you can set it to assign you random people from all over the world.
Yep.
And like one of my favorite streamers, his name is Dakotas. That's his thing. He jumps in there and he puts on random squads. And I've heard 10-year-old kids that just found out their aunt has cancer. You have kids, it's their birthday. You have people that are having a baby. And it's just incredible. And you're ultimately bound together. You're forced to work as a team. And you know what? If it's not like your day, you can just dance. Like
So I have neighbors that play, and sometimes when they don't have a fourth person, I jump in their squad and I just let them run the show. Like I turn my microphone off, I turn their volume up, and I just listen to whatever they ask me to do, and I just go with the flow with them, and it's a blast. It's so much. I'm sitting there on the couch. My wife and my daughter are sitting next to me, and like they're our neighbors, so we all know them, and they're laughing their asses off because like they're like running headlong into like just the worst situation possible, and I'm just like rinky dink following along, trying to keep them afloat. Oftentimes they're far better than me depending on who's playing, so it's just, to your point, that the squads aspect of it is such a huge part of why the game is so much fun and that anybody really can enjoy it.
and that's the gift that like Dave pointed out is that's the gift that it gives to our line is that there's infinite possibilities with character arrangements. Like we did one that was like future themed, and you had the Bunker Jonesy and Rocks, and or we'd have like the OGs, and there's a lot of these squad packs coming out that you guys are going to be blown away by, and it's just like it captures that silliness and that quirkiness, and like that's definitely one of the things that I think has given this game the legs that it has. Is it's more of a social media platform than it is a game.
Definitely. So, speaking of social media and the things that you're doing to further the community, I have one more Fortnite direct toy question for you. Is there, and this is I guess like the tough question. Here's the hard hitter. Is there anything that has not been announced yet that you can either give us a hint or our audience a hint at what's coming, or anything that you are at liberty to speak of? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. That's a totally fine answer as well.
Well, the stuff that hit the air today is probably not as widespread. So we've been sitting on a glut of development since the COVID crisis started, and there's been a little bit of an abbreviated presence in the toy aisle. So within the last 48 hours, we've had 4 6-inch figures drop, and that's Doggo, Drift in his level 5 with the skateboard. Um, who else do we have? We have the Eternal Voyager, who's like the redo of the Dark Voyager, but with the Ghost Rider head, you know. There was also the X Lord, who's kind of the 2020 version of the Rust Lord. And I like to say that they used my abs as the model for this character, but it's completely not true. We had the redo of the ATK vehicle, the Stinger wrap with the Copper Wasp action figure come out. Today we dropped the new Hot Drop with the Ultima Knight and his gold appearance, which is a replacement or a refresh to what we've done earlier with the early game survival kit. And now a whole new series of solo 4-inch action figures hit. Well, they just showed up in some collectors' hands today, but they're not officially announced yet. And that's Midfield Maestro Tempest, who's like the Mysterio of the universe there. We have Yonder, who's like the updated version of DJ Yonder, and one other one. I'm struggling here. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up my feed right now. And the first thing that popped up was Midfield Master. It's the first time I'm seeing it in person. That's awesome. I love all of the soccer skins, the soccer player skins. That was a great.
Yeah, and that's a Pandora's box, because we know there's like 4 different various soccer skins that you can play as, and as soon as we've opened tooling on something, we have the opportunity to kind of change deco and change head sculpts, and it pays forward. Oh, the 4-inch Tomato Head. So Tomato Head, of course, is a A-lister in the community, and he's going to be an Amazon exclusive for their battle bus. So
awesome.
Beyond that, there's not much that I can say, again, just because of my various non-disclosures and stuff. But I would love to be able to give you guys a scoop on anything for your support and as a show of gratitude there.
We're totally happy to help with that. If there's ever anything that you want to get out there, definitely let us know, and we will shout it from the rooftops, the digital and otherwise rooftops.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks, guys, man. That's amazing. I do appreciate the support and the friendship. It's awesome.
Thank you. Part of the relationship with Fortnite is the bond with the community. And you were saying before you started streaming. You started the Rekt Agent streaming account. So how did that really kind of come to be?
It's funny, it's an evolving thing. From very early on in my experience with Jazwares, when we first got the Minecraft license, and we, through that relationship, realized there was a whole, Minecraft didn't, in its early infancy, didn't spend any money, not $1 on marketing. What they did was they opened their platform for anybody to take the characters and create machinimas and create original content, and they didn't limit that content. So I fell in love with YouTube. I fell in love with vlogging. I used to have a daily vlog that I did. But as soon as we got in the running for Fortnite, the level of secrecy involved prohibited me from doing my daily vlogs. So I did like 218 or 220 daily videos that I uploaded to YouTube. And my passion for content has never really subsided, but I didn't have a voice because of the level of secrecy and the relationship that we had before the line was public. Now that everything's kind of out there and things are flowing around, I've fallen in love with Twitch even more. It's something that you can do that's spontaneous. There's a level of improvisation there. And through the COVID crisis, I've been basically in seclusion. Just shortly after we met in New York, I'm pretty sure that I actually had it. So I was in Hong Kong when it first started. I was in Germany when it spread to Europe, and then I was in New York when it came to the United States. I'm not saying I'm patient zero, but I may have been very close to patient zero. When we returned from Toy Fair after maybe 2 or 3 days, I got extremely sick. The Florida Department of Health came here. I was quarantined without, any recourse, and I've faced a lot of medical challenges ever since. Now, seclusion is natural to me. I've always been kind of a recluse. I've always been kind of the introvert. But through my content creation, I've had a voice and a social life and a calling uh, for that. And in the current situation, I figured that like I need camaraderie. I need to build a community, and I need to talk. In 2019, in support of the Fortnite line, I assisted sales meetings, and I was basically the brand ambassador for the brand, outward facing for Jazwares. I went on more than 40 trips internationally. I've seen Australia, I've been to India, I've been to Japan and Korea, like everywhere. And then all of a sudden, I came home and I got sick, and I had nothing. You know, so I started a live stream to reshape myself and to make new friends and to have some type of a semblance of a social interaction, social life. So Rekt Agent came about because I was like we talked about a little bit ago. I was uncertain in the level that I could share, and I've always been apprehensive. Like I don't want to be um, person that leaks something. For me, it's better to like partner with people like you and let you guys get the scoop and the exposure. Like it's not up to me to announce things. So Rekt Agent, I'm a cosplayer. I've been into cosplay. It's a form of escapism that I appreciate. And almost all of my cosplay is masked. I've done Kylo Ren and Darth Vader and all these different characters that kind of live outside of my own self. So I built a Rust Lord costume. It's my favorite character from Fortnite. And my initial plan was to have a live stream in character. So I wouldn't be accountable for the things that I had to talk about, or, I wouldn't be the person, I wouldn't be Mike DeCamp. I was inspired by characters like Dr. Disrespect. I don't know if you know the streaming world, or Ninja, for instance.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Ninja.
So I had them as role models, and I built the Rekt Agent persona around that. But when I got it rolling, you can't hear a damn thing when I have the helmet on, and I have the helmet. So I relented, and I put myself out there, and it's a very vulnerable, it's a very personal stream. I not only do I talk about Fortnite, and I talk about the action figures as much as I can, but like we talked about off stream, is I'm a musician, so I'm writing songs now. I love to play video games with friends. And for me, beyond my girlfriend and my cat, it's really the only interaction that I have with the outside world. And that's prattling explanation, but I hope I got it across.
No, I mean well, first of all, we did not know that you were ill following all of your travels and everything. We're so happy to hear that you are okay. That's terrifying, and yeah, very happy to hear that you are recovered and everything. That's a nightmare situation.
It's one of these things where we know so little about it. Like I've had everything from the traditional symptoms, like we're all familiar with, the high fever and all that types, the trouble breathing and all that. But I've had all these anomalous, undiagnosed symptoms. I had like chronic nerve pain. I've had ringing in my ears since February, abdominal pain, like all these things where the doctors have no explanation, even as far as having like false negatives in my antibody tests. Like the thing, whatever this COVID thing is, we know so little about. And I've taken it more or less upon myself to continue isolation because of that, right? Like I have two children, and I haven't seen my children since the beginning of the year, and I'm supposed to have a visit with them shortly, but I'm considering delaying it because Florida is just it's a dumpster fire right now. I read an article today that 1 out of 3 children tested in Florida is positive for COVID.
Yeah, it's scary. It is very, very scary. one of the things that I loved about when you kicked off the stream, you made that little like trailer for the channel. I think you originally had posted it on YouTube. But I love the fact that you, a lot like a lot of the other people that we've been so fortunate to meet in the toy world, you kind of embrace this vulnerability, and you guys, you put yourselves out there for, us crazy collectors to interact with directly, and get to know you, and really, get a sense of the passion that goes into these, not just what you do creatively for toys, but like, to your point, like your cosplay, your music, like it's so interesting to love a product and collect it and stare at it every day and take pictures of it, and then get to meet and bond with the people that make them. And as fans of what you do, first and foremost, before anything else, and collectors, like, I know I speak for the vast majority of us, like, we appreciate it. Like, it is so nice to be able to get that level of insight from the people that create the things that we love.
That's great to hear, man. I really have had the luck and the fortune of having tremendous role models, even throughout my experience from a broken home, right? So early on, even though Jesse's younger than I am, he was an early role model. He was like, extremely giving with his attention and his time and with opportunity. And then from there, like we started our relationship with Street Fighter and through Capcom, and it's interesting. We had this hybrid business where we partnered actually with Soda Toys, and through Soda Toys, I met Jerry Macaluso. And Jerry, like, he made the original Toxic Avenger prosthetics. He was this prolific sculptor, but he's also a tremendous person. And through Jerry, I met Eddie Wires, rest in peace. Eddie was one of the most giving, knowledgeable toy collectors I've ever met. And then from there, I met like Damon Nee and Jesse Falcon and all these guys now that have elevated to these meteoric heights, like at Disney and Marvel, and I've always had something greater to aspire to, and it's through honesty and vulnerability, and my thing that I talk about probably the most with my community that's growing on Twitch, etc., is that by elevating the people around you, you elevate yourself. And it has to be, for me, that's the ultimate.
Before we let you get back into making amazing toys and producing more content, we always like to ask what the most special piece in your collection is, and what's your weirdest or rarest piece.
Wow, this reminds me of James Lipton and his infamous, when you get to heaven, what do you hope God says to you? Like, so my most special piece, that's a tough one. It's probably the Mego 12-inch magnetic Batman with flyaway action. So when I was very, very young, that was something that was gifted to me by my mom. And Batman was something that to this day, I haven't had the experience of making a Batman action figure, but it's high on my list of priorities. So I got this. It was a tremendous action figure, the soft goods cape, a roto head, and Batman and Robin, they had magnets embedded in their hands and feet. And the package had this incredible, almost like psychedelic artwork on it. Please Google it. I love it. And he had this attachment that went onto his back underneath his cape, and you would thread two strings through it, one on the left and one on the right, and then you would tie them off to something. And then by pulling the strings apart on the far end, the figure would slide away from you and appear to like fly away. That was the flyaway action. So I immediately took the figures. I had Batman and Robin, and I took them down to a playground by my house. And I was playing with them on the monkey bars and experimenting with what surfaces were magnetic, surfaces weren't. And I climbed all the way to one of those kind of domes apparatus that you can climb all over. And I stuck the figures up there, and I started playing, blah, blah, blah. And I left them there. Like my mom, the street lights turned on, and I got the call out the window, get home or you're dead, whatever. And I ran home and I left them there and I lost them. They just,
Oh.
that was it. And so eventually I was able to track them down, and I spent, way too much money on them to get the mint in the package. So that's probably the most special piece that I have, because after I lost the action figures, I would literally just look at the box. Like, I would just fantasize and check out the package and read it and reread it and hope that someday I would have those action figures again.
Man, I'm sorry. Somebody just started cutting onion sandwiches in my recording studio. I'm
Oh, yeah, no. And I actually had the fortune of meeting Marty Abrams and talking Mego and really getting to know him through Judd. They've had a long-term, meaningful friendship and somewhat of a mentorship there. And I finally got them. Yeah,
I just looked them up. There's actually a super cool like vintage commercial. When this episode of the podcast airs, I'll make sure that that week I post the commercial as our throwback.
Amazing.
So that's definitely the most special, by far.
Yeah.
It might also be your rarest piece. But if you have another answer for a weird or rare piece in your collection, by all means, we'd love to hear it.
All right, I'm going to get myself in hot water here, but I like you guys, and I'm going to do it. So we made just a ton of Fortnite figures and collectibles and this and that, and the volume of action figures and things that we've done is just tremendous. But when you have a prolific line, there's always what we call a unicorn, right? Something that somebody fucked up. We made a gigantic jumbo llama that had some really great action figures and collectibles and back blings and everything in it. But within that llama, we have a collectible series called the Domes. And the domes are kind of like Smurfs in a bubble, and you can stack them and you can put them in a display. So in that jumbo llama, you'll find a dome called Frozen Jonesy. Do you guys know what makes Frozen Jonesy so special?
No.
There's no such thing as a Frozen Jonesy in the game. So somewhere along the lines, I saw some really convincing fan art or whatever it is, because like even in my stream, I have this kid, he's 14, he's from Canada, and he like made me my own version of Rustlord by downloading and ripping the outfit and applying new texture maps to it, blah, blah, blah. So somebody dreamed up a Frozen Jonesy, and not only did I fall for it, but everybody fell for it. Like Epic approved it, it got made, so if you can find you a Frozen Jonesy in the dome, I promise you that will be the rocket firing Boba Fett from this line. So,
all right. Well, there you have it. Frozen Jonesy. We're on the hunt for him. So before we sign off for the evening, Mike, which, by the way, thank you so much for joining us. This has been incredible, absolutely incredible. Please tell our audience, where can we find you? Tell us where we can find you on Twitch, on Instagram, all the places where we can find you.
I'm on Instagram under my name, Mike DeCamp. I have an alt that's under Rekt Agent, but there's very little happening there since it's just growing. But Rekt Agent is the thing. It's across Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch and YouTube at the moment. So REKT Agent. I love it, and I love you guys. Thank you for having me back a second time, and congratulations on all the success. I really can't wait to see more, and I'm sure the world thanks you for providing entertainment in such troubling times. So do keep it up. You guys are killing it. I'm humbled by being here, so thank you.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.